Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here. My name is Devin Adams. I'm a Fortinet instructor for Dynamic Worldwide in Tempe, Arizona, and this is video number 2 on our FortiGate SD-WAN demo. In the last video, we were setting up our lab topology, and we got the devices in here, we turned them on, and then, we ended the video. So nothing is configured. So guys, the goal of this video is extremely simplistic, okay? And that is we are going to configure our devices just to configure our devices. Now, we're not going to do anything when it comes to the SD-WAN yet. In fact, like I said, I still got to figure it out. So I was watching the YouTube videos on it from Fortinet. I was reading documentation, and this was during my actual class last week. And guys, I just cannot get it to work. So, it might take a bit, but before we can test anything out, we need this topology, and they are all up and running. So let's configure the FortiGates, let's configure our end devices, and let's drop some licenses on the FortiGates themselves, and then we'll call it a wrap. All right, that's our goal for video part 2. Okay, and so hopefully this is enough for those that are out there who take my courses that can duplicate this in their own lab environment. So something to mention, I probably should mention it when I do the licensing on the FortiGates. I've had more than one person tell me that their rep from Fortinet, who is like the reseller of their equipment, does have licenses available most of the time for you to try out, and they can give you a VM license. Now, I honestly can't guarantee that, but that's what I've been told. So if you're already, purchasing FortiGate equipment, Fortinet equipment from your rep, why don't you ask them if they have something for you to test in a virtual environment? And I've had more than one person tell me that their rep had no problem doing that for them. So, and the license files that we're using in this class are the license files that are out in the real world, meaning like, you can still use them here in the lab environment. So don't want to discourage those who don't have licenses, but I just want to say, those free VMs are limited in the sense of how many like firewall policies can be done. The cryptos are real low, but we are going to be using licensed FortiGates in this demo. Okay, so let's do it. So where to start? I have no idea. So I don't. So I'm gonna do everything from my Windows machine here, PC1. Hopefully I'm still booted in it, which I am. And let's log into our headquarters FortiGate. So, because in our headquarters FortiGate, we added an Mpls connection, which is going to be our site-to-site connection for our data center. So let me load up a browser here. That should really be my first goal. And let me at least point the headquarters FortiGates down that way. So maybe. Come on, you can do it, buddy. It might take a second to load. By the way, guys, my laptop is not going to be doing the best, so I'm actually going to power down some things here to kind of try to save some resources. Anyways, I did stop, right? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let's log into our FortiGate. So let's go to 10.10.1.254. All right. Yes, I know it's not secured. Maybe we'll do a search lab in my impromptu lab. So, all right, we set up LDAP, so we should be able to log in using our Windows credentials. Sweet, that still works. And let's set up that site-to-site using MPLS, okay? So we're gonna pretend like we paid a boatload of money and we got a point-to-point between our headquarters here in Phoenix and our data center in Dallas, all right? And so we're going to go to network, we're going to go to interfaces, okay? And we're going to, oh, nope, it's right there, port 5. And I'm just going to call this MPLS, all right? And they gave us an IP address of 172.16.1.1 with a /30. All right. Now, this interface here is not publicly facing, so I'm actually going to turn on at least ping access so we could ping the interface to test it. Okay, and that's all we really should need to do on that side. All right, not too bad. Okay, now on this side, we're going to go into our DC FortiGate, and this thing's fresh out of the box, quote unquote. So we're going to do admin no password, all right? And then we are going to do a config system interface, and we're going to edit ports 2, because that's where our MPLS network is terminating from, at least I think. Oh, it's port 3, see? This is why I check myself. If you hover over these links in GNS3, by the way, guys, it will tell you what port you stuck them in. So, all right, so that's 3, that's 1, that's right, because we're going to have another link here eventually. So, no big deal, my bad. We'll just do a next to back out 1, and we'll do an edit port 3. And then we'll set the IP address of 10, nope, I lied, 172.16.1.2 with the /30. All right, and we'll set allow access to ping, but also HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and that's because we might want to administer that FortiGate through our MPLS network, right? We can do an in, then we'll do an execute ping to the other side of that MPLS tunnel to see if it can get there. All right, there it is. Okay, so we are now connected through MPLS. Wow, that's great. Now there's a problem here though. Watch what happens when I try to actually get to that computer to administer to it. So if I come over here and I load up a web browser and I do 172.16.1.2 to try to administer to it, it's not going to happen. Okay, so there's a couple of things going on here. One, there's no firewall policy to even let me go out that interface. And 2, the Dallas office, the DC, is dropping it because the 10 network is unknown to it. It doesn't know about the 10.10 network. All right, so we're going to have to fix that real quickly. And let's do that. So are you guys ready? And that's known as reverse path forwarding check or anti-spoofing. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see here. Let's go ahead and go into our DC again. And we're going to do a config sys interface again. And we're going to edit ports. Actually, you know what? Should I do it through MPLS or should I just do it through the WAN ports? You know what? For the sake of keeping things simple, let's just go ahead and configure it using port 1 with the publicly facing make-believe IP addresses. All right, now in real life, you'd probably not do that, but in real life also, we wouldn't be trying to do this remotely anyways. We'd have physical access to the device. So what I mean here is that I'm going to go to config system interface. I am going to set the IP address between here and here. All right, and that is plugged into port 1 on the FortiGate, but also on port 6 on our Linux router. All right, so by the way, guys, this is what I mean by my videos are impromptu. I like think of them on the fly. I don't rehearse them or anything like that. And I just realized, you know what? There's an easier way to do this. So let's go ahead and set that IP address of interface 1. So we'll do an edit port 1. And if we do a show right here, you'll see that it's already configured for ping HTTP, HTTPS access out of the box on the VMs, but we do have to set the mode to static because it's not getting one through DHCP. And then we can set the IP address, set IP to 10.200.6.1. And that's going to be its port 1 WAN facing IP address in our make-believe environment. Okay, and that's all fine, right? But unfortunately, it doesn't know how to get out to the internet, or it doesn't know where the rest of the world is. So if we do a execute ping, I want to test that connection, by the way, to the Linux router and make sure I got my IP addresses right. And maybe I didn't. That's not a good sign. Let's actually see what that Ethernet port is plugged into. All right. By the way, guys, I actually like recording me screwing up, and the reason why is because you guys get to see it too. I hate nothing more than that YouTube magic of just stuff automatically working. So this is my Linux router. It's just a CentOx box, and I have Ethernet 6 plugged in here. And yeah, I mean, it's 10.200.6.254. It should be able to ping out to that bad boy, and I have no idea why, unless this device in the middle is messing it up. And it is. Guess what, guys? We never turned on this box. Yeah. See how it's too low to see the interfaces if they're on or off? I had to pull this down a little bit. And now that thing needs to boot. Mystery solved. Okay. I'm like, I thought I did that right. Yeah, so remember, guys, this is going to be our net term box that's going to simulate junked traffic once we get our SD-WAN up, so we can put some performance metrics on it. So, okay, now that that's done, there it is. There's the Linux box, so I know I'm at least talking to it. All right. But then again, we need to tell the FortiGate that the rest of the world lives on that outside interface. And if it doesn't know where a packet came from, it drops it. And that's what reverse path forwarding check is. Okay. Also known as anti-spoofing on some other devices. But we're going to go ahead and do a config router static. We're going to edit one. And then we're going to say, hey, and you can actually do a question mark, not a question mark here, do a get command if you want to see everything that you can configure within a certain level of your FortiGate CLI. So here we're going to say, hey, that destination will keep the quad 0, but we're going to go ahead and set the gateway to 10.200.6.254. In other words, if you don't know where to go, pass it off to that Linux box, okay? And then we'll also set a interface. Where's our interface? I thought we had to set an interface. Destination address, our gateway. All right, why am I drawing a blank here? The gateway, the distance, the status, the destination. Is that all we need? I thought we did need one more step. All right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Device. Guys, I'm sorry. I couldn't figure out what the syntax was off the top of my head. Let's try that all over again, okay? Configs route static. And here's the problem with the FortiGates being GUI-centric. It's completely spoiled me. I don't know these command lines off the top of my head. So once again, I'm going to hit get, and then it's the device I was thinking about. I don't know why I was thinking about interface, but we need to tell it what physical device to leave to get out there. So we're going to set the device. I set the device to port 1. Set the gateway to the Linux box. All right, 254. And that should be enough to get us a default gateway. So if we do an execute ping, and we'll just do something trivial here, it knows where to go when it doesn't know an IP address. And that should be enough for us to be able to get to the GUI from our PC1 here without having to write an additional firewall rule for the Mpls. And that was the whole point here, is to try to keep it simple for right now, okay? So now that that's done, we can go to 10.200.6.1, and we should see the FortiGates, all right? That way I didn't have to write any more additional rules. We'll say admin. All right, maybe someday in my impromptu lab, I'll set up MPLS, not MPLS, LDAP for this thing. But for right now, I'm just going to say later, because we just want to get enough for us to play around with our demo. So just following some best practices here while it's loading up, I'm going to go ahead and rename the host name. All right, so that way when we're logged in, we know which FortiGate it is. So we'll just call this DC FortiGates. All right. Also, we are not here, but we're in Central because we're in Dallas. Okay. And yeah, I know it sounds silly, guys, but I'm going to change this to red just so I know I'm in a different FortiGate than my headquarters. Gives me that little visual representation. And also, because it's a lab environment, I'm going to stay logged in a little bit longer than I'm probably supposed to. So, all right, there we go. So let's continue setting this up. So let's go ahead and go to our network, and let's go to our interfaces. And port 2 is going to be reserved for WAN 2, but I'm going to come in here, and we're not going to do the WAN 2 yet. We're just getting enough up to essentially practice our SD-WAN IPsec. And then port 3, we're going to change to Mpls, LS. So we know about that. And we did that through the CLI. So this must be port 4. I'm just going to hover over this to make sure. And it is port 4. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and just call this LAN for right now. We might change that to something else, but LAN. And it has an IP address of 10.0.2.254 with a /24. Okay. And I really don't mind that they have ping access on the inside. It's because I have a space. Thank you. All right. That's not a big deal. Okay. But in all honesty, though, guys, I want a DHCP server for my lab environment because I do not want to set up any more additional devices I might plug in there. So I believe if we go to server X and we go to configure, all right, I set it for 100. So I'm going to pass out my IP pool starting with 150. All right, so if something joins and it wants it via DHCP, it can start with 150 and go to 200. All right, perfect. Okay. So that is set up there. And right now there's going to be no firewall rules. Okay, but eventually there will be. Now the reason why is because in order to use the SD-WAN, guys, we cannot have these things referring to any other policies and routes and all that jazz. So that's going to be a separate video. Probably it's going to be the next one. Is just setting up our outgoing connections with SD-WAN just for internet access, and then after that we'll probably do one for the VPN tunnels. So. All right, that looks good for right now. I did actually have that box point to the FortiGates for DNS requests. So let's go ahead and do DNS forwarding on the FortiGate also. In other words, guys, if anything on our 10.10.2 network gives an IP address, did I really do 10.0? Because that is not right. I just realized that should be 10.10. I'm 40 awesome today. All right, there we go. That could have been super bad. Yeah, and now I have to redo my IP addresses. I don't know why anyone watches these videos, guys. They're horrible. All right, here we go. My bad. Okay, but let's just set it up so if there is any DNS requests, we can go ahead and pass them along to our DNS servers that are configured on the FortiGate. So we're just going to go to our feature visibility underneath system. We are going to turn on the DNS server. Bloop. There we go. Good times. Okay. And then we can go to network, servers, and I'm going to say, hey, if anyone comes on port 4, our LAN, and they want an IP address, not an IP, fully qualified domain name, a DNS resolve, just pass it along to our system DNS. All right. Because that's how I had it configured manually. Anyways, now what DNS servers are they passing it off to? Well, those are going to be the ones that are defined here. And by default, we're using the FortiGuard's DNS. All right. So not too bad there. Okay. All right. So we got that set up. And the very last thing we're going to do is drop a license file. Now I'm dropping a license file that just has the FortiCare support licensed on it because we're not using any of these security features. The SD-WAN is a part of the FortiGate itself, so there is no additional licensing other than that. But in order for me to get my cryptos to match up and also to get this to work properly in a demo environment, I am going to have to get a licensed FortiGate. So once again, guys, if you want to, you can ask your sales rep. And I've had several people tell me that they have had their sales rep throw them licenses just to play around with. All right, so there we go. We're going to hit OK. And then that's going to go ahead and reboot and then be licensed. All right, are we really already 20 minutes in? That was horrible. Let's go ahead and wrap up New York City, though. Are you guys ready? So once again, I'm going to come over here to New York City FortiGate. Okay. And I'm going to configure it with just enough to where we can configure it from our headquarters. So I'm going to say admin, no password. I'm going to do a configure system interface. I'm going to edit ports 1. All right. I'm going to set the mode to static instead of DHCP. And then I'm going to set the IP address of, I can't tell you if my life depended on it. It looks like 10.200.7.1. All right. So 10.200.7.1 with a /24. And then I'm going to do a show right here. All right, all the accesses is there, so that's good. But the FortiGate still will not accept requests there until we turn on, or not turn on, until we configure the default route because of reverse path forwarding check. So we'll do a config router static. All right, we'll do an edit 1, and we'll set the device, now that I know that it's the device, and then set the gateway to 10.200.7.254. All right, and that should be all that we need because by default it's already using the quad 0, and we can test this by executing ping, and yeah, it can make it to the Linux router. So good times there. See how much faster that was if I just would have done a little design and not complicated things before this. Anyways, so I'm going to go to PC1 now, and let's go ahead and go to our New York office. Now, in real life, guys, do we have publicly facing WAN access to our FortiGates? No, we don't. So once I get everything configured, I'll turn that off. But once again, though, we usually send these things remotely already pre-configured, or there's someone on site to do some basic setup. This is just the whole, me trying to do it in a lab environment. So, all right. So let's go ahead and clean this box up. Okay. I'll do the passwords later. And let's just do it all over again. So, all right. So for example here, I'm going to change that host name and to our New York City firewall. NYC. There we go. And they are on the East Coast, last time I checked. Okay. So, and then once again, we're in a lab environment, so I'm going to unrealistically set the timeout a lot longer. And I'm going to have all my remote offices be in Japanese. No, be in color blue. All right. So this just gives me a visual representation that I'm in a branch office remote FortiGate. All right. So there we go. And then let's go to our network. We'll go to interfaces. We'll change port 1 to say WAN 1. All right, WAN 1. There we go. And then I believe it's port 3 that we're connected to. And that is port 3. Excellent. So let's go to port 3. Okay, we'll call this LAN. Okay, and it's going to be 10.10.3.254 with a /24. And I did not actually mean to hit enter because I wanted to turn on at least ping access and DHCP. So here we are. And I believe this bad boy was configured with, let's see here, a .10. All right, cool. All right. So we'll start our DHCP pool starting with 100 and going to 150. All right. There we are. Excellent. And I still did not turn on ping access. Man, I'm just awesome. Anyways, here we go. Ping. And this way, on our PC3 at our New York office, we should be able to load up a terminal and ping the FortiGates if everything's working well. So, all right, ping 10, 10, 3, 2, 5, 4. Ooh, maybe not. All right. Let's see here. Execute ping 10, 10, 3.10. That's interesting. That is just a switch. And you are on port 3, right, buddy? Yeah, it's on port 3. That should have worked. Let's take a look here. Unless this thing doesn't have the right network settings on it. Let's do a if config. Look at that. Really? Did I do 10.0? Man. See that, guys? I stink. But guess what? This is exactly why. And I'll tell you why, by the way. In my lab environments in class, that's what our internal networks are, is 10.0. So I just did that habitually. But you know what? No big deal. We can power this off. And let's go ahead and test out that DHCP. See, I did that on purpose, right? Easy peasy lemon greasy. Here we go. And now we're just going to turn on DHCP. And I got to go off screen to hit my apply button. Embarrassing enough. My resolution's too low. And turn it back on. And we'll test that connectivity. So, all right. And while that's happening, okay, well, that was fast. A little too fast. No, see, it's still booting up. We can go to PC1 here now, though, and we can access, or not access it, we can drop the license file on it. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll call it a quits for today. So let's go over to our system. There it is. And let's go to our settings. I swear it's here is where we drop the license. FortiGuard settings. All right. So right now it's the free. Okay. Or is it underneath firmware? Nope, it's right there. Here we go. And let's open up another license here. And I cannot remember which one we're using on our headquarters FortiGates. Let me check that one out first. I feel like I'm mumbling now. Sorry, guys. This has gone on way too long. All right, so I'm using 27, so I'm going to have to use 25 over here. And I just have a couple of license files lying around for demonstration purposes. So here we go. There we are. All right. Perfect. So what do we do here? We named the host names. We set up the interfaces, right, with the IP addresses. By the way, guys, I was going to try to do access through the MPLS, but I want to try to keep as much firewall policies out of it ahead of time because that SD-WAN is really what we're going to try to go for. So once that reboots with its correct licensing, let me test DHCP, and then after that, I am just going to call it a day. So, and then in our next video, I think we'll just take it a step further and try to get our routes in there. I'm not quite too sure. There we go. Let's see, we got a 10.10.3 now, and we should be. How do you know you've been FortiGating too long? You type in exe to ping something. All right, so ping 10.10.3.254, and there's our FortiGate. So, but there's no firewall policies. Actually, we also don't have any of the routes defined yet. So there's still plenty for us to do, but I got to stop it there. So we licensed our FortiGates. We put IP addresses on all the interfaces. We set up DHCP, and we also did the renaming of the host names. We also changed the coloring scheme so we know that we're in what FortiGate. And I got to stop it because we're hitting a half an hour. So this is probably the last one I'm going to do for today. But in our next video, let's at least get this thing a little bit more functioning. So like I said, I had challenges with the SD-WAN. So it might be a little bit till I finish up the next video. But at least we're a step closer by putting in our topology, because guess what, guys? It's here. Our topology is here. The routes are there. Not the routes, the interfaces are defined. We now just gotta get everything talking to each other, you know, through either a VPN or an MPLS, and all is right with the world. So, all right, guys, sorry for the longer video and all the impromptu-ness, but I'll see you guys in the next one. So, all right, peace.